Oh my gosh. I swear nothing can ever go according to plan. If you know, I'm laughing because literally 5 seconds before we're about to go air here, PFN Daily, my cat is hanging upside down on the top of my bed. The edge of the bed falls off. Whatever. This is just a wild day here. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to Pro Football Network Daily, your daily NFL news and analysis show here on youtube.com/Pro Football Network. We appreciate you taking time out of your day to jump in and join us here today, talk all things NFL. Got a surprise walk away from the National Football League last night with Bruce Arians stepping away. We'll talk about that a little bit later on the show. Patrick Peterson returning to the Minnesota Vikings. We've got NFL win total odds courtesy of our good friends over there at Caesars Sportsbook. Not to mention, we have mock drafts. It is mock draft season, folks, as we build up to the NFL draft here at the end of April, where we're doing a live PFN show. Myself, Brett Yaris, and Tony Pauline in a studio somewhere in New York or New Jersey, one or the other, tomato. But I can't wait to break it all down with you here today on PFN Daily. But, it's not just me who's talking football today. I have a co-host here on the show. He's a Green Bay Packers shareholder. He is your mother's favorite fantasy football analyst. He is Tommy Garrett, co-host of PFN Daily. Tommy, my friend, how you doing, my man? It's I feel like today's Friday, but it's Thursday, and I don't know how I feel about it. My man's got the mute button on. Finally, he gets muted. Bang! There we go. Are you back? Hey.
I was laughing at your cat, and it just caught me. So your cat just got me again. I was just going to say, yeah, I can't keep track of what day it is. Apparently, I can't keep track of my own freaking audio. So thank you, Ian. I'm blaming you on this one, too.
You know what? We tend to have some technology fun here on the show. Yeah, like I said, I did not expect what happened with my cat. It was the weirdest thing ever. He likes to hang, and he likes to lay on his back a lot. He just fell right off the side of the bed.
I was literally picturing in your head because I've seen your cat do some weird things before, like when it was up there on your shoulders in one of the episodes. I would just imagine my head, and I just started laughing, and I didn't want that coming through. So I was like, hey, I'm going to be the smart guy right here and mute it, completely forgetting you probably have to unmute that also at the same time.
Unbelievable turn of events here on PFN Day. But you know what? We have fun. We're laid back here. I know my fiance is calling me on my phone right now. It's like, hey, babe, I'm on air every single day at 2:00 p.m. Eastern time. I don't know why you're calling me. And now my cat and my dog are fighting. Dude, this is just absolute chaos. Hey,
it's chaos today.
Shout out to Outlaw 2448. Y'all ready for this? Jock Jams 95. Brandon Olivier says, yes, sir. And then good afternoon. Happy birthday. Hey, thanks. Hey, Buff, I appreciate it, my man. Like I said, my social media has been blowing up here today. A lot of love, a lot of support, but you know what? I am nothing without the amazing audience that chooses to listen to, me talk and share football thoughts, man. So it is what it is right there, man. But you know what, Tommy? Let's not keep our guests waiting here today. We are joined alongside by Pro Football Network's NFL draft analyst and college football analyst. He has the longest Twitter handle in the entire company here at Pro Football Network. He is Ian Cummings. Ian, my friend, it's great to see you here once again, my man. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm just glad it was not me that was muted today. It was someone else. I'm glad we got to change of pace.
Okay, so
there.
it was Ian. It was you yesterday, me today. Does that mean is Cody next? Like, are we bringing someone else on for it?
Can't be me.
Continues.
Nope, it can't be me because I got to drive.
He's the glue guy. He's got to be. He's got to
right?
be unmuted.
We will see there. But, hey, Ian, I appreciate you. Obviously, we've had a lot of fun with the mock drafts that have been conducted here at Pro Football Network, looking at team-specific mock drafts. Hey! Stop it. I'm sorry. It's chaos over here. I don't know if y'all heard the dang dog going. He and the cat are fighting.
The fact we get paid to do this is just baffling to me.
The
I don't know
who
would thought that was a good idea.
Shine right here. He's like, I'm getting on.
Oh, my goodness. Brandon Olivier says, happy birthday, Papa. He's like, you share a birthday with my mom. Hey, tell your mother happy birthday. Brandon, appreciate you. How you doing? Outside of that, I don't even know how to collect myself because these two are not even listening to me. They're fighting. Oh, and then Tommy drops from the.
You have got to be.
What is going on today?
You knew it was going to happen today of all days. I mean, your cat freaking out, the dog getting on the show. I mean, we're checking the boxes for PFN Daily Bingo.
Well, luckily I can see Tommy, so when he's got his camera set back up, I'll pop him back on here. There we go, Tommy, my man. We're just enjoying. Today is a great day.
Dude, what is going on today?
It's okay. My camera went out last week. My camera went out last week while we were live on air. I didn't know how that happened there, but you know what? He's like, welcome to the new PFN Daily co-host, Ian. There we go.
Yeah, no kidding, Ian. Thanks for taking my job now.
Football gods, can we please have a moment where there's no technological interruptions here? Because you know what? We brought Ian here for a reason. We love his insight as always. But now, the Kansas City Chiefs, they have 2 first-round picks in the 2022 NFL draft. Obviously for them, wheeling and dealing, making these big time moves here. Let's start off with pick number 1. Not pick number 1, round 1, pick number 29 here. Obviously they traded away Tyreek Hill, was one of the biggest weapons probably in Kansas City Chiefs franchise history, one of the most impactful players for them from an explosive production standpoint. You have them taking Jameson Williams, wide receiver out of Alabama, who has a lot of potential and a lot of opportunity to make some noise, but coming off of ACL, might be a redshirt year for him, but he was anticipated to be running by the time the draft starts, which, I'll share my thoughts on that afterwards.
Yeah, for sure. And I see some questions in the chat. A-Buff, we have a Twitter space running tonight, actually, at 7 p.m., me and Ali, and we're going to be running a mock draft. So talking about some of the top players, I'll be able to answer your questions there potentially. We are going to talk about the Lions at some point today. We got the Chiefs and the Buccaneers, but right now going with the Chiefs. Jameson, and I'm a Lions fan, so I have a vested interest in that. So I want to get to that sooner rather than later. But Jameson Williams to the Chiefs, one of the most popular matches since they traded Tyreek Hill. Me personally, I'm partial to getting Calvin Austin around 2, but that's just a personal preference. I really like Jameson Williams. He's my second overall receiver behind Garrett Wilson. Even with the injury, man, this guy is one of the best players in the draft, and it all revolves around his speed. This guy, it's not just regular speed. This is long strider speed. This is a guy who's 6'2", covers ground with ruthless efficiency. He destroys tackling angles. Once he gets in open space, it's almost impossible to keep up with this guy. Explosive, dynamic, deep threat. But at the same time, you look at him outside of the speed, and he's got some of the tools to be a complete wide receiver. The hip sync on his routes, he can chop his feet and stop very suddenly on those in-breaking routes. And then he's got ball tracking ability. He can contort, he can track the ball in the air and control his body. His hands can be a little more consistent, especially against contact. But if you're looking for a dynamic speed threat to replace Tyreek Hill, Jameson Williams in round 1, even with the injury, it looks like he's on pace to make a full recovery. We saw the other day he was doing those hops on the sideline. He looks like he's getting better. He's on track to be running at some point later this offseason. So it's trending in the right direction. And when he's healthy, he is just an insane talent.
I mean, Cody, you're one to talk on that, right?
Well, a little bit. And the one thing I was going to mention there too is, like, for me, I've torn my ACL. And one thing I know about ACLs, look, I think everyone's so enamored by Cam Akers' quick recovery from an Achilles injury.
Yeah.
But for an ACL, what happens is when you have a donor tissue, whether it even comes from your own patella tendon, your own hamstring, or it's a cadaver, your body, after you go through the reconstructive surgery, go through the operation to insert it, it takes 12 weeks for your body to either accept or reject the own tissue that's been there. Even your own tissue can be rejected, which is very, very odd here. Now, I imagine he probably had a patella tendon because those tend to hold up the strongest. But for him to run this early, he has nothing to prove, I think, to anybody. Like if the Chiefs take him at pick number 29, I think it's highly justified. Even if you don't get to see him maybe this year, or maybe if he's ready by the postseason, you can get the introduction there. But he's a damn good player, and man, I tell you what, he'd fit great inside that offense. But Tom, now let's get to pick number 30.
Whispers are too that you might not even be able to get him at 29. You know, he's so talented. Maybe teams trade up to get him anyway because when he's healthy, I mean, again, game-breaking talent.
I mean, prior to the ACL injury, he was looking like possibly being the number 1 wide receiver off the board.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think, like I said, I've said this several times, like, you're not drafting the player they are today. You're drafting the player you project them to be down the road. And if you think that Jameson Williams, especially if you take him in the first round and you get that 5th-year option, like, he is going to be a dynamic player for years and years in the NFL if we think he's going to be and translate the way we think he will. So I would not be surprised if he's not available at 29. It's just the one that I think it's Chiefs fans kind of dream of that one being the case because he kind of makes that perfect fit to fill in for that Tyreek Hill kind of role. But moving on to the next draft, it doesn't take long because the Chiefs are actually back up on back-to-back picks thanks to the trades they pulled off with the Miami Dolphins sending off Tyreek Hill. But in this one, you have them bring in a little bit of pass rushing help, most likely because right now they just still have Melvin Ingram's kind of sitting out there on board. We don't know if he's going to come back yet, but you have Boye Mafa, the edge rusher out of Minnesota, very movable kind of guy. What makes you think this is going to be such a nice fit here in Kansas City?
Yeah, I think you made a great transition talking about Williams. You know, we're not projecting what they are right now. We're projecting what they can be. And that is literally that's the modus operandi for a guy like Boye Mafe. I mean, this is a guy who you're projecting what he can be. And what he can be is a double-digit sack pass rusher. You know, that's what he can be at his max projection. I mean, this is a guy who has all the athletic tools. I mean, you look at what he measured in at the combine, I think 6'3", 3/4, 261 pounds, arms over 33 inches, you know, and he's putting up numbers that are insane. I mean, 4.53 40-yard dash, 38-inch vertical, 125-inch broad.
And looked good in the drills.
Yeah, he looked very good in the drills. And again, going back to the Senior Bowl too, I mean, that was a week where he trended up the entire week. He was very hard to handle in the practices. And then he had a dominant showing in the game, just absolutely dominant. No one could stop this guy. How could no one stop him, you ask? Well, he's explosive. He's got bend. He's able to win around the apex with hand moves. Here's the thing. He's still very young in his football career. He came over. He was in boarding school from Nigeria. A very incredible story and an incredible young man, too. You listen to him talk in press conferences. You can tell that he understands the process-oriented, you know, approach that pass rushers need to have. He understands situational awareness with his hands. He's still trending up. You know, the caveat there is that he's going to be an older rookie because he came over. You know, he's going to be 24 years old as a rookie. But, you know, he's trending up. He's starting to get into that peak already where he's maximizing his tools. And that's the guy that I'd want in my edge room. And looking at the Chiefs, they tend to like bigger guys. And Boye Mafe is bigger. He's got a dense frame, and he's also super athletic. So I love this as a high upside pick where, you know, 2 to 3 years down the line, he could be one of your best players.
Well, let's get to round 2, pick number 50 here. Kind of going back-to-back edge rushers here. They have them selecting Cameron Thomas, edge rusher out of San Diego State. Now, I think Chiefs fans, for the most part, will be curious as to why are they double-dipping at edge rusher? Well, I think that there's obviously flexibility for the future, but then again, you can allow Chris Jones to kind of sit on that defensive interior and stay there. I mean, one thing when Melvin Ingram was brought into the organization in 2021, they're able to bump him from the edge to the inside where he's a real stakeholder there for that defense. So now you get 2 legitimate pass rushers that can just rotate and grow. And it's not about, like, I love what you said earlier. It's not about who they are right now. It's about who you think they can become. Getting 2 edge rushers back-to-back, double dipping would be a smart strategy in my opinion.
Yeah, and Cameron Thomas, another guy who has that bigger frame, which the Chiefs love. I think he measured in around 6'4", 267 at the NFL Combine, but he was up around the 270s at times in college, you know? So he's a guy, especially at San Diego State. Again, you know, it's a solid football program, but there were times when he was one of their bigger defensive linemen, so they rotated him inside the 3-tech at times, you know, and he still performed pretty well there. So he's a guy, maybe pack on a few pounds and have him be a versatile, you know, lineman, you know, shifting out to 5-tech or 3-tech. You know, there is flexibility there. And I think looking at it from an NFL team perspective, you can never have enough pass rushers. And Cameron Thomas doesn't have the athleticism that Boye Mafe has. I know my guy Ali is a big fan of Cam Thomas, though, for one reason. He calls him Baby Gronk because this guy has the thick frame. You know, he's powerful, and he can win around the edge. He's got some surprising ankle flexion for his size. So this is a guy I think can be a very good utility guy in your rotation, and maybe a couple years down the line, you know, can be a very flexible piece.
Yeah, I mean, talk about guys who need to put on some weight. I don't think the next guy coming up here with the second pick for the Kansas City Chiefs in the second round needs to put on more weight, and that is full Darion Mathis, defensive tackle, Alabama. Here we are again, once again, reassuring those trenches on the defensive side of the ball. You got 2 edge rushers. Now you bring a defensive tackle here in the second round. Do you like him more? Like I said, we're talking like a 0 tech, 1 tech. Do you think it'd be a 3? How do you think he's going to fit more on the Kansas City Chiefs defense?
Yeah, I think I wouldn't trust him two-gapping right away. I like him in that role, but he struggled to maintain that anchor at times for me. And he can play that role for sure. I would probably have him at 3 or 2. Maybe 2I.
Yep.
Again, move him around in that 2 to 3 range. But I do think, he can go out to 4 as well. Not at 5. He's not quite athletic enough for that. But the thing with Darion Mathis, you know what you're getting, and that's 100% motor on every snap. This guy plays with a ton of energy. He's got long arms and powerful extensions, and he's got violent hands too. I mean, I love the hand usage, the energy that he carries with each rep. Again, the anchor, and I do think he has the strength to eventually become a good 0 tech, in time. But he, I think the leverage, the balance issues were part of what kept him from holding his anchor at times in the center. It's one of those things where you got to be really strong, not just strong, but fundamentally sound too. And you got to, lower your pads and keep that center of gravity. And he's not quite where he needs to be with that yet. But again, violent hands, energy, alignment, versatile. This is what you're getting with Darion Mathis. So at the tail end of round 2, maybe round 3, if he lasts that long, it's tough to get a handle on where these interior defensive linemen are going to go. But he's a coach's guy. He's got the high motor, he's a leader, and he's versatile. So I think for the Chiefs especially, he's the guy who can free your interior lineup a little bit.
Makes a ton of sense. And honestly, the Kansas City Chiefs have a ton of picks in this year's draft, including 2 more third-round picks. We'll kind of run through the rest of these here. At pick 94, you have Tyler Britt, the cornerback of Nebraska. Definitely going to need more cornerback help in this division with how pass-heavy it's going to be. At 103, they can grab Nick Cross, the safety out of Maryland. Hope we kind of bridge that gap that might be lost when they lose Tyrann Mathieu. Coming here in pick 4, Tyquan Thornton, a wide receiver out of Baylor, a big speed guy who really showed out at the NFL Combine. Then we have a little bit of a gap, but they have 4 7th-round picks. Ty Chandler, running back out of North Carolina, who you guys know me. I have been very high on Ty Chandler. Love this pick for him. DeMarco Johnson, linebacker out of Appalachian State. As a Michigan fan, I hate saying the word Appalachian State every single year. Then they get 2 more picks here. Jacoby Durant, cornerback out of South Carolina State, and finishes out with Deshaun Dixon, the edge rusher out of Norfolk State at pick 260.
A lot of valuable picks there for Chiefs Kingdom. And if you're a Kansas City Chiefs fan, let us know what you think about these mock draft selections courtesy of Pro Football Network. But now, Ian, let's transition now to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers mock draft courtesy of ProFootballNetwork.com. Let's start things off here. Round 1, pick number 27. You have them taking Perrion Winfrey, defensive tackle out of Oklahoma. And I think the first thing that came to mind when I saw this, I was like, oh my gosh, you're going to pair a dude like that on the interior with Vita Vea in 2022 with the pass rushers that they have with Shaq Barrett. Okay, you know what? That defense is going to be even more difficult to run on if you're an opposing team.
Yeah, Perrion Winfrey is a dude I love for the upside. I mean, for what he can become. Again, that's the mantra today, what they can become. And what Perrion Winfrey can become is an absolute nightmare on that interior line. Again, put him at 3 tech. As far as I know, as of now, they haven't re-signed Ndamukong Suh. I know he was lobbying for Todd Bowles to do it now that Bowles has been elevated, but we don't know if that's going to happen yet. So you have a void at 3 tech opposite Vita Vea. So I would get Perrion Winfrey in there right now. The thing with Winfrey, man, is the tools are elite. All right. This guy was at the Senior Bowl and he was dominant all week. He was one of the best players on the field. 6'3", 5'8", 290 pounds, 35 and 1/4 inch arms. So this guy's got crazy length. And with that length, he has insane power generation capacity. And he showed it at the Senior Bowl. He was getting inside guys' torsos and driving them back on one rep against Nick Sakelj from Fordham. He drove him back 20 yards and he did not stop. His motor was going the entire week. He loved being out there, and he ran a 4.89 at the NFL Combine. So again, the full 40 isn't quite as important for defensive tackles, but he's explosive. He's got that juice off the line. Some of the issues carried over from 2020 to 2021, the hand usage could be a little more precise, a little more consistent, and he came up with his pad level too high a lot. He's got to surge his pads a little bit more lower and keep that leverage. But again, it didn't matter because he's so violent. He's so relentless. He's always pursuing the quarterback, and the tools are elite. So Perrion Winfrey is a guy, especially putting him next to Vita Vea, who can occupy 2 guys and free up Winfrey with one-on-one opportunities. This guy can eat. I love Perrion Winfrey to the Buccaneers, and this is one of my favorite fits in the entire draft, I think.
I know we've talked about this for the last year plus. The quarterback class this year is a little bit lackluster. But I think there's been some guys who have really kind of taken that next step forward. Look at the guys like Malik Willis's, Matt Corral, Sam Howell, even Desmond Ridder took a massive step forward thanks to help with the pro days. You've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers kind of double dipping back all they did last year, looking for that next heir apparent to Tom Brady, this time with Carson Strong, the quarterback out of Nevada, who's kind of been a little bit more under the radar while some of these other guys have really kind of taken these next step forward. Do you just think this is more of a great fit right here, or just partially to do with some of maybe the lack of trust in what Kyle Trask might be able to develop to in the future?
Yeah, it's a little bit of everything, right? Okay, well, first off, I wasn't very high on Kyle Trask. I thought, could be a good backup, but again, the arm talent just wasn't there, and he's not mobile at all. He's a guy who can be a good backup. He has that to him, but starting upside, I'm not sure he has that. If you're a pocket passer, I need you to be poised. I need you to have a great arm. And I need you to be able to layer the ball and push it downfield. And I think Carson Strong at least has that. He's got that strong arm. We saw that at the Senior Bowl. He had a ton of zip on it. There were some times where the mechanics got away from him and he looped them, especially on those deep balls on Wednesday. But, he has the arm talent. It shows up time and time again on that Nevada film where he can generate a ton of velocity. He can push it down the field with ease. He's not really forcing it. You can tell. So he's got the talent that Kyle Trask lacks. And again, too, late round 2, 60th pick. At this point, if there is a quarterback with Carson Strong's talent still left on the board, it's worth the swing at this point because it's a potential low risk, high upside reward for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He doesn't have to play right away with Tom Brady coming back. Let him sit for a year, take in the system, and then maybe when he's ready, the Buccaneers still have a pretty solid offensive line, a couple voids to fill, but no, it's pretty solid all around still, even losing Alex Kappa and Ali Marpet. So you're looking at that because they brought back Shaq from the Patriots as well. So, they were able to maintain it. They have the weapons still. So I think it's a good situation for Carson Strong to develop. And again, the arm talent is just there. And it's something that Kyle Trask doesn't have.
Kyle Trask also got bailed out by being able to play with Kyle Pitts and Kadarius Toney all those years.
Yeah, that helped a little bit.
That helped a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it helps when you have talent like that. But let's take a look now at the defensive side of the ball here for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Round 3, pick number 91. They had them taking Martin Emerson, cornerback out of Mississippi State. Now, a little intriguing here considering the fact that, look, luckily enough, they were able to get Carlton Davis back in free agency. The hope is that secondary now can stay healthy. Obviously, losing safety help in NFL free agency with Jordan Whitehead departing for them at the safety position. Interesting enough, why corner here and not safety?
Yeah, I think with corner, it's just one of those things. Having enough athletic corners is something they really need. And especially with the Buccaneers, even though they're getting guys back, they're healthy, they have dealt with injury issues in the past. So it's one of those positions, especially in this class, the value is the depth at the cornerback position. So I think getting that depth, investing in a round 3 pick, if you can get Martin Emerson, he's a guy that I have valued in the early round 2 range. I absolutely love this dude. So I think at this point, while it might not be quite as big of a need as safety, I still think you could maybe get a guy like Brian Cook in round 4. Obviously, they went in a different direction in this mock draft, but there are safety options early day 3 who could fill that role that you're looking for alongside Antoine Winfield. In regards to Martin Emerson, this is a guy who has very good size, around 6'1", 5'8", 203 pounds. I think arms over 33 inches. I had to go back and check, but he's a long dude. You can tell on tape. He's got a wide disruption radius, and he's explosive, great closing speed coming downhill. Processes very well. That click and close is near elite with him. He's very good at that. Great in run support, physical, ball skills, just provides a very complete picture. I could see him developing into a Carlton Davis-like pro, at his max projection. He's got the tools to do it, athleticism, size, especially if you're looking like, a guy like Ahmad Gardner. You love his size and athleticism, but if you want the value later on, I think Martin Emerson in round 2 or round 3 provides comparable value there because he's got the size and the athleticism and the physicality that Gardner's known for. So I'm a big fan of Emerson. He's in my top 50 when my big board drops, but I think especially for the value here, late in round 3, it's something you got to pounce on.
Yeah, in the NFL draft, finding value is the only thing that matters. You kind of do the same thing here later on in the rest of the draft for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. In round 4, getting Justin Schaefer, the guard out of Georgia. In round 7, Keontae Ingram, the running back out of USC, kind of pairing in the backfield right now with maybe like a Keyshawn Vaughn, and who's going to be the number 3 in the backfield. And then their final pick with Colby Harvell-Peel, the safety out of Oklahoma State.
A variety of picks here for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. No more Bruce Arians going into 2022. Todd Bowles will be the head coach. Does this impact maybe future mock drafts here with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Be sure to check out the latest at ProFootballNetwork.com. Well, Ian Cummings, I appreciate you, my friend, for stopping in today's episode of PFN Daily here on YouTube.com/Pro Football Network. A lot of great insight as always. And as you can always kind of build things out. Ian is putting together a lot of work between written content, mock drafts, film study, prospect interviews. So make sure you check out the NFL Draft Guide as well as we build up closer towards the NFL Draft. Ian, my friend, I appreciate you jumping on. Ironically enough, no technical issues on your end today. We passed those off to Tommy. So, it's a great day. Like I said, dude, today's just throwing me off. I feel like today is Friday, but it's not. Like, it's Thursday. It's got a real good Friday feel. I might take tomorrow off. We'll see. We'll see about that. But anyways, Ian Cummings, I appreciate you, my friend.
Say that.
Check him out on the longest Twitter handle in Pro Football Network at Ian_Cummings_9. That's a big one, Ian.
It's not that big. Come on,
my friend.
I might look at the shortening.
All right, Ian Cummings, folks. Thank you so much for stopping in today's episode of PFN Daily. I love Ian, man. Ian is a great dude.
He's great.
He does a lot of great work here at Pro Football Network. With that said, Tommy, I guess we can commence the circus that's going on right now here.
It can only go downhill from here. Let's be honest. You don't have Ian to save you anymore.
We don't. Okay. So Watson Graves early on said, happy birthday. You guys are the best. Hey, appreciate you, Watson. Thank you so much for stopping in here today. Appreciate you so much. Hope you have a great weekend ahead of you. Outside of that, Artful Dodger says everyone's got to get deep at corner this year. Too many stacked teams, even if they are AFC. This is a very, very, very good point. You have to have guys that can cover. And I was talking with one of my co-hosts on another show that I do here, Tommy. And one of the things I was saying is, like, when you look at the AFC West, hey, the Chargers the one and they got J.C. Jackson. Outside of that, who they have at corner? Yes, there's Asante Samuel Jr. Yeah. There's that aspect. There's Michael Davis, but it's like that's not good enough in the AFC. That's not good enough right now, especially in that division, let alone. So I'm more confident in the Broncos and all their offensive weapons that they have against the multitude of cover guys that the Chargers do have, minus J.C. Jackson, who's studies a piss missile there. So there is that. Jack here says, I can't in good conscience have a safety at second overall for the Lions. Well, everyone's talking about the whole Kyle Hamilton thing, man. I don't understand.
I don't get why we're hating on Kyle Hamilton so much. Like,
all we got to do is turn on the tape.
Time?
Or it's like the weave drill that he was doing. I was like, oh my God.
That's my thing. Like, he didn't even run a straight line. He literally ran like a 47-yard, 40-yard dash. Like, the guy is athletic as it gets. Like, I have no problem getting the best player at a position. If you think Kyle Hamilton is by far the best player at his position, and you think some of the other, if he's number one on your board, like, you're going to take him. If you had Aiden Hutchinson number one on your board and he goes, who's your next best fit? If you don't want to reach, then then take Kyle Hamilton. Like, if you have a team with a lot of needs, just start addressing them. Which one's going to be most impactful, do you think? If you got a guy who can kind of play multiple positions around the field, someone like a Kyle Hamilton could be able to do, that could be actually a really good value. It might not be the sexiest pick out there, but if it works out on the field, then I'm not going to knock it.
Just the comments that are coming in. Jack says, I'm scarred by Jeff Okudah, third of all. Hey, look, Jeff Okudah, I think, is going to be really damn good.
I'm not writing him off.
Hasn't gotten off to a great start. And then he had obviously the season-ending injury last year. I was very unfortunate for him. But how many rookies can go get put into a situation, play for the Lions, for example, and then have success their rookie year? It's hard. It's very difficult. He got targeted a little bit. Scheme doesn't always help too. Environment helps. Like if you have a good pass rush on the Lions, it helps out your secondary. So I think Jeff Okudah will still be a good pick for them, and I'm holding out hope because I was a huge Okudah fan as well. Outsider says, worth the money. I call dibs if I'm filling in for Cody. We got you, Outlaw 2448, my man. Hey, make sure all of you jump in on the Pro Football Network at PFN 365 on Twitter, our community, NFL news and analysis. It's where you can come in, interact with other football fans, always keep it respectful, but obviously let's talk about a lot of different things that are going on there. Tyler Olson says, happy birthday, Mr. Rook. Appreciate you, Tyler Olson. You are the MVP of this whole operation here at Pro Football Network. I can tell you that, my friend. I will ride shotgun, Outlaw, and then, I just showed up, so that, the nonsense is kicking off. Dude, Artful Dodger, you missed out.
Good time.
My cat right before the show was, acting up, but then my cat and my dog literally got into a fight, and they were barking at each other and clawing at each other, and I had to tell them to shut up here on air. It's just one of those things. And then Outlaw 2440 says, also, your present has been sent on Twitter, Cody. I don't know what that means. I'm hoping it's nothing too scary here. I'm not saying anything, but then again, I have like 500 notifications on my phone I got to check. So I'll get to that after the show here. But Tommy, we have a lot of NFL news and analysis to still talk about. And look, we're 30 minutes into the show. Here we are. Man.
Hey, honestly, getting through 2 mock drafts and the intro that we had earlier, doing that in 30 minutes, I feel like we're doing okay.
We are doing okay. Well, I guess we should talk about the biggest news so far as to what's happened so far in the last 24 hours around the NFL atmosphere. That is Bruce Arians stepping away, retiring from coaching. Now, for Bruce Arians, for him, he's always been well regarded as one of the quarterback whisperers in the National Football League. He's worked with a multitude of QBs, dating back from Peyton Manning, going all the way to Carson Palmer, Tom Brady. He's been everywhere, man. But now he's kind of stepping away from coaching, and he's kind of stepping into a role within the Tampa Bay Buccaneers front office. What type of role will that be, and how might that impact the day-to-day operations here for this Tampa Bay Bucs team? That to me, I think, is what I'm a little intrigued about here, Tommy.
I mean, I feel like Bruce Arians, the way he's kind of setting this up is like he's trying to take a little more of a hands-off approach, but still be involved in the data. He's going to let Todd Bowles be the head coach. I don't think he wants to be the micromanaging kind of type. So I'm not sure what it's going to be. Let me just like in game plan setups. I don't think he's going to get that intricate into the details, but I definitely think he's going to be around. And quite frankly, like you want him to still be a part of this organization. I think it's a good move, honestly, for him. Like you saw him when he filled in for Chuck Pagano when he actually became the AP head coach of the year that year for the Indianapolis Colts in 2020. In 2012. Like over the next 5 seasons as the head coach between the Cardinals, and then with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, like we've seen him have nothing but success throughout this whole time. So even if he's just whispering in the ear instead of the quarterbacks into Todd Bowles now, guiding him now into his second stint now as a head coach, like I think that can only be a positive thing to kind of get Bowles moving in the right direction. Like you said, like I didn't want to leave this franchise in a worse spot. I think the Tom Brady situation, him coming back, like Arians kind of said it himself, where I wanted to leave, and succession to me was more important than the Ring of Honor or the Hall of Fame. Although it did get announced today, he will be inducted into the Tampa Bay Ring of Honor this year, which I think rightfully so. That's the right move.
Well, for Bruce Arians, very outspoken. Just, that's the one thing I've always loved about him is that
Doesn't
he's
care.
just authentically himself.
Yep.
I mean, it's to the point the NFL Network, they have to like beep things out. Like, come on, like just let coaches be themselves.
Middle of the press conference today. Like literally when Todd Bowles is up there, he drops one cuss word and they instantly cut it away and go to commercials while he's still up there talking. Like, come on, guys. Like, let's be real here. Like, everyone hears this stuff nowadays. Like, I don't get it.
I can tell you this, like, if you've ever been in a locker room, you've ever been on a coaching staff, you've ever been
the
around
amount of
coaches,
things you hear.
Oh
yeah.
my goodness.
Like a sailor blush.
Like I said, like him cussing and just like, it wasn't like you saying anything bad. He was just like, I miss cussing out the guys and then giving them a hug there. Like, I think that's the thing about coaching. Like, I think Bruce Arians always knew how to kind of toe that line, like being there's times he was aggressive. And like, there's times that his tone and his demeanor was kind of demanding or harsh. But then again, afterwards, it's to try to get something out of a player or out of a team to motivate them, whatever it may be, or to get them to do the right thing. And then afterwards, after practice, after you're done chewing into them, you put your arm around them, you say, I love you. Yep. I mean, that's what Bruce Arians
He's
really
earned
is.
that respect, though. He's earned that ability to do that.
He could go to Jacksonville and he like today and do that, and they would buy into it. Like, it's different when they talk about a guy like Urban Meyer, but Bruce Arians, one of the best to ever do it in the National Football League, stepping away from coaching. And now Todd Bowles will step in his place as the Buccaneers' next head coach, and he will have a 5-year deal. This is an interesting turn of events here. And look, here's the thing for Todd Bowles. Long overdue for him to become a head coach. We thought that Byron Leftwich were going to get head coaching opportunities this past, hiring cycle here. And Byron Leftwich had a chance in Jacksonville, but, the dysfunction that's going on at the top level there, they end up settling for Doug Peterson, who is a great coach, by the way. Don't get me wrong.
No knock on
Byron Leftwich had a plan, and unfortunately it didn't align with what the Jacksonville Jaguars wanted to do, especially with Shad Khan control and things. And obviously Trent Baalke still being around there. So now the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, look, it's Todd Bowles as the head coach. You have Tom Brady. This might make for some interesting storylines throughout this season. Now for Todd Bowles, obviously he's done a fantastic job on the defensive side of the ball for them. But Mike Kay, one of our NFL writers here at Pro Football Network, he put out an article that said 5 immediate tasks that Todd Bowles should have coming into the head coaching job here. First one is make sure Tom Brady is sticking around. I don't think Tom Brady's going anywhere. I mean, obviously he was front and center at the press conference here for Bruce Arians, put out this very touching message to him on the IG. But then again, it's like whatever Tom Brady puts out on IG, can we take it serious anymore? Consider it. He said he was going to retire, but no, he's back again. So there's that to kind of keep an eye on. I know everyone's eyeing the Miami Dolphins situation. And that I don't think anything is going to come of that. But the second task here, promote a replacement at defensive coordinator. Is Todd Bowles going to be a defensive play caller as a head coach? I mean, we've seen even before, Bruce Arians was even preparing this year. If Byron Leftwich were to get a head coaching job elsewhere, they were really looking at the angle for Bruce Arians to be the offensive play caller as the head coach. So will they hire a defensive coordinator? Will they promote within? I imagine that if Bowles was going to just focus on managing the head coaching job, probably promote somebody on the defensive staff to that DC position.
They actually have announced that, inside linebackers coach Larry Foote, who was with these guys in Arizona, and also defensive line coach Casey Rogers, who was actually the defense coordinator with Todd Bowles when he was with the Jets. They are going to have split defense coordinator duties, at least for this season. I don't know what's going to happen after that point, but for right now, Larry Foote, former Steelers and Arizona Cardinals player and coach, and Casey Rogers, the defensive line coach last year, will be splitting defense coordinator duties for the 2022 season.
I wonder how you can effectively have two people being a defense coordinator. Let's ask the Miami Dolphins how having two offensive coordinators helped them the last couple of years. Because it's like, okay, hey, if the players on that defensive unit like to listen to one guy more than the other, like that just creates a whole bunch of controversy, right?
Because you're instantly thinking Rodgers is going to have more pull with the defensive linemen, where Foote's going to have more pull with the linebackers
in the secondary and guys.
Yeah,
like that.
I don't know how that's going to work.
The only way I can see this working, one of them is up in the box communicating down to the guy that's on the field. That's the only way I can see this maybe working. But then again, it's like having two co-defensive coordinators kind of muddies the waters a little bit. So that'll be an interesting one there.
Both have them in the right spot. I mean, I trust him to pull this off.
It makes sense there. And then it says here, rework the pre-draft plan. Does much change here for the NFL draft for this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team? I honestly don't believe much will change because Bruce Arians, he's not going anywhere. He's still going to be involved in a front office role. Yeah. So he's going to have some input. He's going to work alongside and maybe be a sounding board for Todd Bowles as he gets back into being a head coach here. So there is that. It says continue to build a roster in Todd Bowles' image. I think a lot of that's going to be shaped off of the defensive side of the ball and allowing like Tom Brady, Byron Leftwich kind of do their thing, which I know that there were some reports coming out that, you know, when Bruce Arians was dealing with something, I think earlier last season, that you had Tom Brady and Byron Leftwich, they were working together. They created a game plan, and that apparently Bruce Arians came in and red marked all of it, red taped it, said, nah, we're not doing this or doing that. And that was a little bit of a storyline that got created. How much truth is there to that? I don't know. I mean, you know, where there's smoke, there's a little bit of fire there. And then the last task, the fifth task, is figure out if there's any other internal free agents that are worth bringing back. I think at this point, they really have to look at safety. And for some reason, Tyrann Mathieu makes the most sense here for Tampa Bay. And the reason I say that, okay, outside of the whole hypothetical coincidence that Tyrann Mathieu took some pictures, I believe it was with Todd Bowles' son, like their friends, and they went out to a zoo down in South Florida. So it's like, okay, what's going to happen? Is that going to be the tie that kind of keeps them together? Look for Tyrann Mathieu. They're an NFC championship contender. They're a contender for the Super Bowl on the NFC side of things here in Tampa Bay. It makes a little bit of sense here.
The thing for me with with Todd Bowles, like this is the best chance he has had as a head coach, and especially bringing someone like a Tyrann Mathieu. Like there's still some needs that need to be filled on the for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We kind of talked about it even when Bruce Arians was still head coach, like 24 hours ago. Like this is still a very competitive team, but it's also the best one that Todd Bowles has had. I was kind of digging through some of the players that he's had, just kind of looking back on the offensive side. Go back to 2015 when he was with the Jets. It went 10-6 that year. And this is going to be a trip down memory lane for some of you guys that have been following the NFL or playing fantasy football. You had Ryan Fitzpatrick, because of course, I think he's been playing since the 80s at this point. Running backs to that point, Chris Ivory with Brandon Marshall and Eric Decker as your wide receivers and running backs that year. Then in 2016, they went 11-5 with Ryan Fitzpatrick and Bryce Petty starting 4 starts that game. That was with Matt Forte, Bilal Powell, with Brandon Marshall and Quincy Enunwa as a starter that year.
Wow.
Next year, they go 5-11 again with Josh McCown and Petty, this time with Matt Forte and Bilal. That was with Robbie Anderson, Jermaine Kearse, and Austin Safarian Jenkins, one of the old law firms that we would give him the nickname to back then. And then you get to 2018, and this was the Sam Darnold year, the 4-12 with Sam Darnold, Isaiah Crowell, Elijah McGuire, with Robbie Anderson, Jermaine Kearse, Quincy Enunwa, and this is also the start of Chris Herndon. So for him to now step into a team that's got a Leonard Fournette on this awesome offensive roster, you've got a Chris Godwin, you've got a Mike Evans. We're going to assume still Rob Gronkowski. I'm still betting he comes back. Like I still can't believe that's not going to happen. Along with Tom Brady, this is the best chance Todd Bowles has ever had to win in the NFL. I love this fit that he's finally getting this opportunity. I think it's the right thing to do. I'm sure they're glad they were able to hold on to him. And honestly, I think they're in a spot where they can honestly make a lot of noise still in the NFC. It's pretty much now as wide open as it's ever been.
Well, I'm excited to see how things play out here for this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team. Getting to some of the comments here down below. Matthew Kanata says, your cat was barking. You get what I mean there, Kanata. Show's going to have to get longer, boys. Artful Dodger, we have plans, my friend. We have plans to eventually, hopefully, as we continue to grow and develop a little bit more of a structure within what we do here and add a
structure
call-in line. I mean, Sometimes. I mean, we like to stay structurally unstructured, if that makes any sense there. But the idea and the hope is that we can get a call-in line here on the show where you all can call in and chat with us. You can bring up a point. We'll have you here on air with us. We might even be able to invite people, Tommy. I think we can invite people here through our platform that we use for our live stream. So if anyone ever wants to be on video on their cell phone, make sure you have good cell phone quality there. We might open that up. We might have to gauge interest on that. So there is that. Kind of touch on this again. Do you think that the Bruce stepping back lends a little bit more credence to the Tom to Miami rumors? No. I don't think here this year. I think maybe next year, something to keep an eye on. How much does that affect things, especially if Tom has 1 year remaining on his deal, which I assume he does. I think that's the last thing I saw. So maybe 2023, which I would hate life because it kind of answers up and syncs up perfectly with the timeline that, hey, 2022, they're going to give Tua the chance to be the guy afterwards.
Yeah.
Oh, it
makes sense. Like, I can absolutely sit here and say, like, yeah, I can see this path that it happens. Do I think it does? Probably not. But I'm sure Miami fans would love to see Tom Brady coming in there after watching him beat them for decades at this point.
Yeah.
But honestly, it still feels like it's very much Tampa Bay or retirement. But like you said, like when Tom Brady makes a statement, like, how much are we actually going to trust him from now on?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I just didn't notice this either. Tommy, you and I are wearing the same color of blue here today. Like, we did not coordinate this.
No, we actually didn't. No.
I got a really cool shirt. Let's ride. Obviously,
I like that.
The Russell Wilson thing there.
I went with the Seattle Battlehawks. I'm throwing back to the XFL at that time with Jordan Tamau and those guys. Yeah, we're the Blues Brothers today.
Hey, it's going to be fun. We got USFL football starting up in just about 2 weeks. And you're going to get exclusive content and coverage here, courtesy Pro Football Network Daily. Tommy Garrett, myself. Tommy is a New Orleans Breakers guy. I'm a Birmingham Stallions guy. I can't wait to kind of see how things go because the Birmingham Stallions actually open up the season in the inaugural matchup, the first game to kick things off. I'm stoked about it.
And it's like always a home game for you guys because they're playing everything out of the hub city of Birmingham. So it kind of makes a lot of sense. And I actually like that move in general for the USFL because it cuts down on how much it costs to actually run the league. All the fans can go in one place. The games are always going to be there. So I think it's going to work out well. I like it.
Me too. You know what Vikings fans are liking right now? The fact that they got Patrick Peterson back. Now, Tommy, here's the deal. Okay, we did a Twitter Spaces on this. Obviously,
great timing.
Pro Football Network. Fantastic timing, by the way, because we were monitoring the release of it. I tuned in, right? I tuned in because it was the announcement by he and Bryant McFadden, All Things Covered podcast. And I just remember watching it, and they're like, no suspense, no build-up to it. Patrick Peterson goes, you know what? I'm not going far. I'm returning home. Like, well, okay, turn off the stream. Like,
exactly.
You couldn't have made it more suspenseful. Like, I love Patrick Peterson. Don't get me wrong. Had a chance to sit down with him in Los Angeles, chat with him at Super Bowl Radio Row. A fantastic dude. He and I bonded talking about defensive back play. But I was like, come on, Pat P, you got to build that thing up a little bit. Like,
this is why people put that at the end of the show. Like, I'm going to make you wait. It's retention time. Like, he'll figure this one out.
Yeah. No, that was one of those things, but I'm happy for Pat P. Good decision by him returning to Minnesota. Obviously, Ed Donatel now going over there as a team's defensive coordinator, kind of revamping a little bit of that defensive backfield here. They have Patrick Peterson, Cam Dantzler. Now you have Nate Harrison, who's going to play a little bit of that nickel. Harrison Smith still on the back end. It'll be very interesting to see what happens here with this Vikings team, what's going on with Danielle Hunter, Emerson Griffin, what type of contract decisions. I think they might have to approach some guys about some restructures, but the Minnesota Vikings, like I said, them in Green Bay right now, they're going to be fighting for that top spot. And I think that you can maybe make an argument, and I know we're going to get into the NFL win totals here in a little bit. You might make the argument now that Minnesota could be the favorite in that division, despite what the win totals say. Depends on what Green Bay does this offseason in the NFL draft at wide receiver after trading away Devontae Adams, which was, interesting in and of itself.
Yeah,
but
very much so.
There is some speculation too. Well, hold on.
I was going to say, I did think it was interesting that he actually mentioned some of the teams who had also been talking to his agent. And it was the Buffalo Bills, Chicago Bears, the Colts, Commanders, and also the Buccaneers too. But I think that really depended on what they're going to do with Carlton Davis, he said. So it was interesting to see there was actually quite a bit of a market for Patrick Peterson. He chose to stay back with the Minnesota Vikings.
Surprising move there. Like I said, if I'm Pat P, look, for him, never won a Super Bowl. Hasn't done that. Like, for him,
you're right.
Entering his 12th season, you think that would be somewhere on his priority list. I know he still wants to play another 5 years, but man.
Said it once played till at least he's at the 15th season.
Yep. Maximize your opportunities. You're entering year 12. You have a 3-year window now in terms of your career timeline that you've listed to try to win a Super Bowl. Go out and try to make it happen. I want to see him do that. But there's also something else going on too, some speculation about a certain wide receiver around the National Football League, and that is DK Metcalf. Could DK Metcalf be traded by the Seattle Seahawks? And if so, what are some potential landing spots according to some of the odds out there? Bookies.com has the Seattle Seahawks as minus 125 favorites, so indicating he will not be traded. Yep. However, if he is traded, the Green Bay Packers come in at plus 500. The New York Jets plus 550. Why would you want to send him to the Jets? Why would you want to do that? I don't like that. Plus 750.
In fairness, it would be the Ole Miss pairing. He'd be literally going back with his old teammate Elijah Moore.
It'd be nice, but it's like, how long is Robert Saleh going to come around? I mean, how long is that organization going to allow them to kind of go through the things? My biggest thing for the New York Jets and for Robert Saleh, I hope that the front office ownership, the administrative side, gives him time to change the culture. Like there were even some rumblings last year that, they weren't happy with how things are going. It's like, what do you expect in a culture rebuild? Like you got to give it time. So I just don't know if like Robert Saleh is going to be given enough time. That's asking me, and that's asking Jets fans to put faith in the front office. Like, come on. You're fooling.
You're finally out of the Adam Gase era. Give the dude a rest. Give him some time. Like you'll be okay.
He sounded like he wanted to stay in Seattle, wants to make it his team. Absolutely. And it's like, okay, hey, Seattle, here's the deal. You have a history, and we said this on Twitter Spaces, you have a history of treating your best players like absolute dog crap. Holding out, not paying them, doing the whole thing there. I mean, there's a reason Russell Wilson wanted to go out, and obviously the whole PR spin by the Seahawks was Russ wanted to leave. But look what they did to Bobby Wagner. He found out on the internet that he was being released before they even picked up the phone and called him. So I'm saying the Seattle Seahawks, I would not be surprised if they try to trade away DK. But, man, I tell you what, there's a more evident spot of tanking there. The next team that comes in on the odds, Kansas City Chiefs at plus 750. Chicago Bears plus 900. Oh, yeah, you want to send him to Chicago where potentially you have a defensive-minded head coach and obviously you have a first-year offensive coordinator, Luke Getsy. Like, I'm sorry. That's not going to inspire a lot of confidence for a guy like DK Metcalf.
But, I mean, if you like Justin Fields, if they can take the next step, giving him that replacement for Allen Robinson to pair alongside Darnell Mooney,
be tough.
I don't hate it.
I just hate it for DK. Great for Chicago. I hate it for DK.
But this is why you don't see very many players be able to get a no trade clause in their contracts. You don't get that like with basketball in the MLB. Like if the NFL team wants to send them somewhere, they pretty much have full autonomy to do so. So like as much as it might suck for the player, these teams are going to do what they think is in the best interest of them.
Or Buffalo with Ole Miss teammate Dawson Knox. That would just be a game over. That'd be a cheat code. If
just size the
Can we remove? Okay, so can we remove the Chargers? Can we remove the Raiders, the Buffalo Bills, the Denver Broncos, the Kansas City Chiefs from being able to acquire DK Metcalf? Because those dudes are loaded at wide receiver as is. Let's create some equal balance across the NFL here. I mean, I'd rather see DK stay in Seattle. Like I said, the whole moment of he and Pete Carroll meeting and being shirtless and like flexing, like that was a cool moment. You don't get that.
If I was often. DK Metcalf, I would never wear a shirt. Plain and simple.
That dude is a freak of nature. DK to Casey, yes, please. No outlaw. We're not having that happen. And you guys are too broke in Kansas City to be able to afford a guy like DK Metcalf. So there is that. We're broken. We're broke too in Buffalo. We spent that money. Absolutely. Von Miller, 6-year, $120. Hey, take care of Von for me. I'm excited. I'm excited for Bills Mafia to be able to meet DJ Sauce Von the Don. Okay. If you don't know who or what that is Von Miller's DJ name. Like he legitimately has a DJ set up. He's been DJing for the last 5 to 7 years. He takes it with him to the locker room. He DJs. I could just imagine a pregame.
I did not know that.
For the Buffalo Bills Mafia, him DJing while putting somebody through a flaming table. Like I can just see that happening now. Von's going to be a great addition to that Buffalo team there.
I want to go to a Bills Mafia game this year. Like I want to go to a game in Buffalo this year so bad.
He says, broke, we have more cap space than the Chargers. Can somebody fact check that for me? What is the Chargers cap space and what is the the Chargers and the Kansas City Chiefs cap space situations right now? He says, I wanted Von super bad in the draft, and he got scooped by the Broncos 1 pick before we took Marcel Darius. Oh, my gosh. What a throwback name. I remember the whole Marcel hype train was going at one point.
So the Kansas City Chiefs are 15th in cap space with $14.6 million. The Los Angeles Chargers are 7th with $18.8 million in cap space.
Plus they still have to negotiate a contract with Orlando Brown Jr. if they want to secure him for the long-term future as one of their tackles. I do not anticipate Orlando Brown Jr. playing on the franchise tag in 2022. So there is that. So we transition now, Tommy. We talk about landing odds for DK Metcalf potentially there. I think personally, let's give a prediction. I think DK stays in Seattle, and if Seattle trades him, woe to Seattle for the rest of existence. Like they deserve all the disappointment coming their way.
It's the boring answer, though, isn't it? I mean, that's the answer. That's like I'm used to chaos now in the NFL. So watch it be a team that's not even listed here trying to make a move for DK. If I'm gonna make a bet though, I think he probably ends up staying in Seattle. If anyone gets moved, I think Tyler Lockett might be the one to get traded.
The Dallas Cowboys. Careful, Tyler Lockett's grandfather might come after you again, Tommy.
Yeah, he's already done it once, so he might do it again. And I was thinking, like, nothing about that. Like, I literally put the phrase in, like, Tyler Lockett is a sensational player. Full stop. Like, without question, I love Tyler Lockett as a player, but it just goes to show the difference of, like, there's a view of a lens through, like, the NFL mindset where, like, what a player brings. Like, you love the upside for someone. Like, Tyler Lockett in the NFL, incredible player. But for fantasy, where you kind of need some of that week in, week out consistently, Tyler Lockett doesn't always cut the cake. Like, if you have him best ball, awesome. But, like, there were, like, several, and I went through, like, I think 3 different seasons for him where, like, 6 or less games accounted for over 40% or 45+% of his targets, receptions, yards, and touchdowns. Like, it was just a boom or bust player. That's just all it was. But, yeah, hey, look, full respect to, if that is, assuming it is Tyler Lockett's grandfather, which honestly, given the wording of the comment that it was, I feel like it was, because there was a lot of passion in there. That was. Full respect for you going out defending your grandson. But look, it was nothing against Tyler Lockett. It was just against him more so as a fantasy player, given he probably lost a little bit of upside with Drew Lock as his quarterback. That was it. That was it.
You know, and he wasn't disrespectful either. Like, he was just saying, like, I disagree with you. Like,
it was the politest way I've ever been told off in my life. And it's been happening a lot of times.
I mean, we love that. Like, that's the thing. Like, if you could tell somebody off, like, in a nice way, like, hey, I'm all for it. Like, I want to try to figure out how to do that. But we were talking about landing spots and odds for DK Metcalf. But let's talk about the NFL win totals. Now, according to our good friends over there at Caesar Sportsbook, I'm going to pull the screen up right here. These are the estimated win totals in terms of Caesar Sportsbook here. Now, at 11.5 wins, they have the Buffalo Bills, the Green Bay Packers, interesting right there, and Tampa Bay Buccaneers, all favored at 11.5 wins this upcoming season. Now, let's play a little bit of a game or smash the over or the under. Buffalo, I'm going to go over.
Over.
I think they'll get 12 wins this season. I think they're a 12 to 13 win team.
I think 13.
Okay. Green Bay. I'm taking the under. I do not see them winning 11 games here in 2022, especially considering they trade away Devontae Adams. Like, that's going to be a tough task for Aaron Rodgers. Now, depending on what they do in the NFL draft, maybe it'll change my perspective in about
free agency isn't done either
now. Yeah, but then again, it's like they've been very kind of solid. They've had to restructure a lot to make some cap space.
They have.
Obviously, the whole Devontae trade helps them out, but Rodgers' contract doesn't help. Tampa Bay, I think. I don't know.
I think it's close.
I think it's close. I'd stay at 11.
I think I like
11. It. I wouldn't go over or under. I'd stay put at 11. 10.5. The Kansas City Chiefs coming in there. I could see them being a 10-win or even 11 or 12-win team. I think that they're obviously Kansas City, until people dethrone them, they're very, very talented.
Anyone who knows anything about betting knows how hard it is to trust Kansas City Chiefs, because every single week they fail to cover the spread. So I hate doing this, but yeah, I kind of think I'm going to take the over on the Chiefs. Like, until someone knocks them off, I'm going to lean the over on them. Like, as good as this division is, it's going to be so hard to have a positive win record in this division this year. So if you can just split it, win your home games, maybe try to steal 1 or 2 on the road. Yeah, I like Kansas City over the 10.5.
The Artful Dodger says the AFC West is nuts, though. Of course, Outlaw says Denver, take the under. Outlaw, stop it, my friend. You're killing me here today. The Rams, 10.5. I could see the Rams being maybe over.
I'm taking the over on the Rams. Sure. I'm taking the over.
Dallas,
at least 12.
Dallas at 10.5. Okay. Hit the pause button here. Okay. Hey.
Yeah. Can we talk about this one for a second?
I'm not seeing it. I'm going to go under. I could see them being a 9-win team. Like, I legitimately can. I think maybe at worst a 7-win team, which their worst would be better than most teams at that point. But 10.5 right now, I have a hard time seeing that, considering the fact that Michael Gallup won't be ready for the regular season. They have CeeDee Lamb. Outside, they have James Washington and Dak Prescott, and they need to find a way to find balance with the run game with Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott. I don't know. I'm not taking the 10.5.
The only thing that helps them out is how weak that division is. So you've got 6 games against the Commanders, Eagles, and Giants. I'm looking at the rest of their schedule too. You've got a matchup against the Bears, Texans, Lions, Colts, Packers, Jags, Vikings, Titans, Bengals, Buccaneers, and Rams. So it's not the easiest schedule out there also.
No, it's not.
On 10.5, I will take the under. It might be 10. Like, it might end up being, they might go 10-7.
Especially in that division.
10.5. That half right there, I think that's going to be the key point.
All right. Well, I think especially inside the NFC East, I think right now very favorable. And some people have somebody put out there. I didn't know if this was real or not until I saw the tweet. And I was like, okay, somebody is smoking something. Somebody's here in Colorado, but somebody had the Washington Commanders at the top of the division over everybody else in the NFC East.
Really?
Not a fan of that. Did you see Carson Wentz's Instagram post? He says trying to build a higher road. It's like he's like trying to take the high road. Kind of contradicts himself there. Great ad, by the way, but kind of contradicting there. Carson.
Throw away that jacket too, which is even worse that you apparently already had that in your closet. Like, let's not even forget about that one.
My goodness, here it says Green Bay, Tampa, and the Rams are the only ones that have a winning record on this list.
A winning record?
Yeah, I think in the NFC side of things. Which now that I'm looking at it, yeah, that makes a ton of sense here. Because what the worst you can be is 8-9, right?
Yeah, 8-9.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That is interesting right there. Okay, so coming in at 10, the Broncos at 10 wins. That's a big jump from where they've been anticipated the last couple of years.
It is.
What happens when you have Russell Wilson. I'd say Denver could be a 10-win team. I can see that. But then you also have
the concern is coming out slow out of the gates.
You can't. Well, the thing is, too, you don't want to get off to such a hot start and then kind of blow your wad at the middle of the season. Then again, it's also we have to factor in, too, where's the bye week? When the schedule releases, I'm always looking at, okay, where's the bye week? What is the buildup? How many games have they played before the bye week? I hate bye weeks that happen early in the season, like around week 4. I think every team should have a bye week around the mid part of the season to split up the balance. Because imagine playing, 3 weeks in the season, having your bye week in week 4, and then having to play the freaking gauntlet that is the rest of the season. Horrible.
True.
Not a big fan of it.
Because not only that, too, but this year the AFC West is also playing the NFC West. So the Broncos, not only do they have to play the Chiefs, the Raiders, and the Chargers, but they also have to play the 49ers, the Seahawks, the Cardinals, and the Rams.
Yeah. Sorry, my Twitter feed is blowing up, too. I got a lot of notifications coming in. I don't know why. I didn't say anything interesting, but hey, it is what it is. San Francisco, I can see them being – I even might give them the over. I feel like between them and the Rams, I think it's going to be –
Watch your faith in Trey Lance. That's what it comes down to.
Is it even going to be Trey Lance? That's the question. Like, there's things coming out now that it could be Jimmy G. Like,
I don't see it.
I don't know. Some people are saying that Trey Lance is not ready. I know.
And not start him in year 2. I get he might not be right. I can't find out a way to do that. You got to start Trey Lance.
Cody flexing. Hey, the only time I flex is in the gym, my friend. I do bicep curls every day, Matthew Canada. That's all I do, brother. I do. That's interesting, though. San Francisco, I think a lot's going to be contingent upon who's their quarterback. I think if it's Jimmy G, I feel like 10 wins is probably the anticipation there. I think that's a good starting point.
Yes.
There. But if it's Trey Lance, I would maybe move them to 9 at that point. I think between them and Arizona, having them at 9, I think would be kind of fairly balanced because we don't truly know yet what we're going to get with Trey Lance. We've seen some things. We have no clue what the offense will truly be like with him. And you have to hope guys can stay healthy too.
Yeah,
that's a tough.
I think honestly, I think you probably feel better if it is Trey Lance in terms of like the stability. But I do think if you feel better if Jimmy Garoppolo has there's more stability.
Yeah.
But I think Trey Lance can unlock something different in this offense if he does what I think he can do. But I think this floor is much lower though with him.
Well, Arfro Dodger makes a great point here in terms of Josh Allen. Josh wasn't ready, but he learned. If you want to get your high upside quarterback, you got to start him. I mean, you trade away all that capital to move up to number 3. You have to take care of business, and you have to bite the bullet. Like if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But if you're wasting another year of potential Trey Lance's development and on-field reps, not a very good decision unless you believe you can win a Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo. Which they've made it to one. They've made it as far as the NFC Championship game. Unfortunately, they have not been able to get over the hump and win a Super Bowl with Jimmy G. So that's the dilemma right there. Right here says here we're getting now to 9.5. Baltimore, Cincinnati, Cleveland. Geez, so you have 3 teams from the AFC North right there at 9.5. How does that make you feel, Tommy? Like that is very top
not
heavy.
Good.
And then you have Bob. Indianapolis and Tennessee at 9.5. Like think about this right now. We were talking about it last year in the buildup. At one point towards the end of the season, there were 13 teams either in the playoffs, in the wild card, or in the hunt for a spot in the AFC playoffs. This right here makes it seem like it is going to be a top-heavy competitive AFC conference.
They've got 9 teams listed just from the AFC and then 9.5 plus win total here.
That's very interesting here. Watson Graves says the Bengals and over 9. Okay, over 9.5.
Yeah, I take the Bengals over 9.5. Cleveland for me, it's all contingent on Deshaun Watson. Plain and simple.
The AFC West is a knife fight, and the AFC North is a lobby fight. That's funny. That's hilarious here. Interesting enough, though, at 8.5, that's where the Las Vegas Raiders come in, which is, I think they're waiting to see what happens with Derek Carr's contract extension. I think it is a fair place to start. But hey, just imagine this, okay? Let's say you get a 10-win team with Kansas City, a 10-win team, or like, 10 or 11-win team. Let's say 11 wins with Kansas City, 10-win team with Denver and LAC, and then you have an 8-win team with the Raiders. Like, that's ridiculous.
It absolutely is.
Not very common, and one of those teams will probably be out of the playoffs, which is even more insane.
You would think so.
You would have to, especially with Indianapolis and Tennessee kind of being where they're at. Miami at 8.5. I feel
Same
like
with the Patriots.
I feel like that's fair, but I feel like a lot of that is contingent upon whether or not Tua takes the next step, right? 8.5. I think they have the defense. They obviously have the offensive weapons now to be super successful. I think a lot is going to be contingent upon quarterback. And the more I look at these win totals and the perceptions here from Caesar Sportsbook, where look, if you have a gambling problem, make sure you call 1-800-522-4700. Be safe and make smart decisions there, folks. Especially my wife tells me that all the time.
Do you just remember that phone number offhand?
No, it's on the right-hand side. I had to, see. Look how sneaky I am there. It's on the screen, right-hand side.
Man, okay. I was going to give you credit. You should have just ran with that, to be honest with me, bud. Just lie to me.
It's okay. But I'm looking at all these, and all these are based upon quarterback. I mean, all these win totals are really
Isn't everything in the NFL?
QB. I mean, rightfully so, it should be, right? But Miami, though, I think that's an interesting spot for them to be. New England at 8.5. That's very interesting as well. You have Philadelphia, Minnesota. I'd say like you can Minnesota, Green Bay might be a coin flip this year in that division. I think it really is, dependent upon what they decide to do there. It says the graphic of the number of AFC teams that aren't going to make the playoffs is crazy. You got to remember, only 7 teams get in. How long before people are demanding that 8 or 9 teams get into the playoffs on each side?
Can we stop playoff expansion? Like, I know it's going to happen.
Should only happen in college football. That's the only one that should get expanded a little bit to 8 teams. That's it. You have your one, boom, no bye weeks. Like, let's not do any bye weeks. I hate bye weeks, to be honest with you. Like, for me, I am super worried if you were the 1 seed, you get the bye. Like, look what happened to Tennessee. They had the bye week. They hadn't played football in a couple weeks versus a team that's coming off of, stringing out wins, back-to-back wins, obviously from the regular season finale. Then you go through and you play in that opening wild card round. It's not good to have a
I think
bye.
It also depends on how do you handle your week 18. Like, I think because if you play all your guys here, then you take that week off, then it makes sense. But if you rest guys in week 18, then take the bye week, you're essentially getting like 2 weeks off, kind of like what the Colts did when they kind of like that undefeated record for a long time, thought they're going to be Super Bowl winners. All of a sudden you get bounced out early. So I think how you handle that week off, if you do have that very coveted number 1 seed, because now there's only one team getting that bye. Like if you're banged up, you love it. But I think it very much comes down to how your team and your coach are going to manage that final regular season game, how many reps you guys get.
Well, and for some of these teams, especially in the AFC, that week 18 game is probably going to be win the division, clinch a playoff spot, clinch a wild
Week 18
card.
is going to be nuts because those are all divisional games. That's going to be crazy.
It's going to be brutal. Let's take a look at some of the lower win totals here. And I saw Tyler Olson said that the Jets are way too high here, and they're coming in anticipated
5.5.
Sportsbooks 5.5. That's interesting. What do you?
Is
what do you
too
think?
High though?
What is? I wonder what their strength of schedule is. Like, who are some of their opponents? Like, obviously we don't know the schedule, but who are their opponents coming into 2022? Is there any way you can pull it up real quick?
Yep,
And
I've got it right now.
I'll keep talking just to tickle the
You've
audience.
got obviously the Bills, Dolphins, and the Patriots. They are playing the AFC North and the NFC North. So you're going to have the Bengals, Ravens, Steelers, and Browns. You've got the Jaguars starting here as well, along with the Lions, Bears, Packers, Vikings. And then their 2 other games are against the Broncos and the Seahawks.
That's the Seahawks is favorable for them. I think
the Seahawks is the interesting one. So is the Bears one, I think, is interesting. And you have a game against the Lions. So those are 3 of the lower teams now in the NFL we're feeling, right? But you go against the Bills, the Dolphins, Patriots, Bengals, Ravens. Like, I don't love that one. You have the Jags.
Oh, man.
So, I mean, like, Jaguars, Bears, Lions. 5.5 wins might be a stretch. I'll be honest.
Matthew Canaz says, tickle the audience is an HR violation. Artful Dodger, also, if you have a bet, put down Buffalo and Motor City for Thanksgiving. I'd like that. I would love to actually watch Dan Campbell's, Detroit Lions taking on the Buffalo Bills there. I would love to see
I'm all
that.
for good Thanksgiving games. Please, give me something to enjoy while I'm laying on my couch in my fat clothes.
Clear your notifications. That number's too damn high. Literally, that's my phone every single day. It's, it is what it is, my friend. Agreed Outlaw, he's probably tweeting himself to get the notifications to 20 plus. That's possible. That's also possibly true, my friend. Houston 4.5. I feel like this is. Are we looking at the Houston Texans too low as an NFL community? Like the Houston Texans, I get it. I get the optics of them last year really influenced a lot how things went. But I think with Davis Mills, so much is going to be contingent upon what he does. And also about the talent that they added. Like they have the draft capital to just stack and to put themselves in a great position. Now you have to hope that Jack Easterby can, tell obviously Nick Cassero, like, hey, this is the way to go. Like you got to be very careful with that. And if Nick Cassero can get off the damn headset and let Lovey coach, I think Houston Texas could make some noise in that division.
I mean, it's 4.5 games, right? So
they
let's
got
say
Jacksonville higher than them.
That's what. Okay, but here's the thing. Yeah, they're playing Jacksonville. So let's do you think they could? Do they could sweep those games, or do you end up going 1-1, just win your home games, right?
You ask Jim Irsay, you need to find a way to go on the road and beat Jacksonville. Damn it.
Yeah, otherwise it's a mistake. You got to correct it. But you also have a matchups here too. Again, one against the Bears. They're actually getting the NFC East.
Great point here.
So you're going to have the Eagles, Washington, and the Giants on the schedule as well too. But I think that's fairly favorable for the Texans.
A-Buff is taking the over on Houston. Artful Dodger says, I think Houston's big problem is that they're just generally, really unpredictable at this point, which makes sense. Outlaw 2448 says, I believe in General Mills. That's a great nickname there, by the way. I love it. I mean, kind of makes sense a little bit.
Tommy. I think the 4.5 I might lean the over on the 4.5 on the Texans.
Well, let's see how it all goes there. Man, a lot of great insight. Hey, and a lot of great interaction here on youtube.com/Pro Football Network. While we have you all here, if you're not a subscriber of this channel just yet, we encourage you to do so, because once we get to 3.5K subscribers, we are going to do a free NFL jersey giveaway where a lucky subscriber here on the YouTube channel has a chance to win a jersey. And because Tommy Garrett is the pristine auction bad boy and he spends a lot of his paychecks on pristine auction jerseys, he's going to throw one in with that as well to one lucky subscriber here on the show. We believe in building a strong community here at PFN Daily, giving fans and football fans all across the entire world a voice here on the show. And you know what? We may have to open things up and drop it in the comment section down below. If you would like us to find a way to get a call-in line where you can call in and join us on air, or if we can get you to appear on video here in the studio that we do have using your phone, or if you have a really good webcam to be able to come on, share your thoughts, we'll bounce you out of there, but bring you on the show. Let us know if that's something that you would be interested in here on PFN Daily every single weekday, Monday through Friday at 2:00 Eastern time. Tomorrow's episode of the show will be a huge one. We're going to be joined by Pro Football Network's very own Trey Wingo. He's going to stop in tomorrow. I'm sure there's a lot to talk about in terms of what's going on around the NFL. I'm sure he's going to share his thoughts on
Arians.
He's going to share his thoughts on the odds that we just presented and talked about with Caesars Sportsbook. Obviously, a lot of the work he's doing there. He will be at the NFL Draft in Las Vegas on behalf of Pro Football Network and Caesars Sportsbook. Be sure to check out the More Than Football podcast with Trey Wingo. A lot of great interviews from last season with some high prolific names in the sports media world and also the football industry in general, former players. And we also have the PFN Daily NFL News Podcast, which is a daily Monday through Friday 20 minutes or less podcast on the biggest NFL news topic of the day. We get that and much more. Plus, we're going to open it up. We're going to have mailbag episodes as well, where your questions and you as a listener, as somebody who tunes in and supports what we do, we want to support you by giving you a chance to have your voice shared on the shows as well. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of the show. Everyone's excited about it. And Artful Dodger says, and don't forget to like. It helps with the algorithm. Absolutely smash that like button here on this live stream. We also post daily clips as well. Stay tuned with that. We appreciate you so much. Tommy, real quick, Outlaw says, Tommy, F1 in Vegas, yay or nay?
Yay. It cannot be worse than when they ran the other event literally in the parking lot of Caesars Palace. I saw the projected layout. It's literally going down the strip like all around Vegas. I'm all in. It can't be worse than like how it's dangerous as Jeddah is right now. I'm in for Las Vegas. More things in Las Vegas is the best for me. And maybe that's a race I can try to get to, because anything in Las Vegas, I'm all in for.
Brother, that's you. I can't stay in Vegas more than a day. Like, I'm in Vegas for a day. I'm done. It's over with. Like, I got to go home after a day.
I'll take care of you. We'll make it work.
All right. Well, hey, appreciate everybody in the audience. I'm going to go celebrate my birthday with my family here tonight. I appreciate all you taking time out of your day to listen to both Tommy Garrett, myself, yell at my cat, my dog, everything else, deal with the technical difficulties that we sometimes deal with. We wouldn't want to do it with anybody else besides you, the audience that's tuned into today's episode of PFN Daily. We appreciate you. And one day we will actually be doing a live show where, in maybe one centralized location where you can come and be a part of an audience. That's something that we do have in the plans as well. Would love to have all of you that are here out there as well. Maybe a big time NFL event that's coming up. We'll keep you posted here on PFN Daily.